This is Rogue Wing, Coraline, or Helen RD over at Starship Modeler. Welcome to the workshop. Okay, decided I needed one more round of aids to work on her. To start with, I went in and gave her some actual toes. Basically, I put the aids on where the boot used to be, and then used the knife here to carve the toes in. Those definitely look more like cat feet than what she had going before. I've also gone in and decided to add more to the hair coming up from under her head, mostly to fill out what was a huge the hair was more like a cloak than it was hair. But at this point, she's pretty much ready for final assembly and final gluing to the base, so she'll stop laying over backwards. But that's where we're sitting at the moment. Alright. Got a coat of primer on her. As you can see by some of the areas where the primer's been sanded off, it showed some areas that still needed some work. So what I did is took some of this on a brush and just dabbed it into the areas that were still showing seamage, and took a sanding stick and just started working it a little. Still got to smooth some of it out, but about time to shoot another coat of primer, and she should be ready for actual paint, which is going to get interesting. But we'll cross that bridge when I get to it. Alright, I really got to find a new way to intro these segments. Anyway, to the matter at hand. The worst of the seams is now gone. At this point, I should be able to deal with what remains with some careful painting work. So, it's likely the last time we see her in simple primer gray. Of course, now the fun comes. Pre-shading. Wish me luck. Okay, despite doing my level best to try to kill the airbrush today, that's a different story for another time, but spare parts are on the way. I have gotten some pre-shading done on the Stormcat. Started with her sword blades, shot the edges with the Badger Camouflage Gray, and then I was going to shoot the middle with black. That's when I ran into my airbrush problems. So rather than airbrush black in here on the blades, I have brushed black on the blades. The color I'm planning on using for the blades themselves is going to be translucent, so this will help give some illusion of depth to the blade. No blades. Pre-shading's done on the figure as well. Ignore the fact she looks a little like a raccoon right now, but that's to get the shading around her eyes. I did do in some areas it's still showing. I did a couple of hits with Camouflage Gray to give some highlights. I may go try to do those again now that I've got the black down, but I'm going to have to wait till I get the replacement needle and needle cap for the airbrush. But the pre-shading is laid down now. I'm going to let that dry. As you can see, it's still not completely dry. One of the hazards of hand brushing it. But despite the little hang up with the airbrush, which will get squared away, I am not going to attempt the base coat by hand. Despite the problem with the airbrush, we've got the pre-shading done, which also marks the first time I think I've ever done pre-shading. So I'll be curious myself to see how that turns out. But stay tuned, we've still got more to go.